Alexis is going to explain to us how she did the bell ringer. Alexis, if you would please make sure you kind of talk loudly, clearly, so that way they can hear you on the video because they cannot see what's written on the board. All right, go ahead. Tell them how you solved that proportion.
Okay. I cross multiplied and I did 6 times 84 and you get 504, and then 7 times x is 7x, and then you take 7x divided by 7 and you get x, and then you do 504 divided by 7 and you get 72.
Okay, thank you. So you got x equals 72 for your answer. All right, Payson, tell us, do you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
Okay. Tell us why you disagree.
Because I already know what you done.
Okay. All right, so she cross multiplied, so she did 7 times x and got 7x equals 6 times 84, and she said that was 504.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that step?
Yes. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you solve it? What did you do?
I don't know. I just done the 7 and the x. And then I forgot to cross multiply the 6 and the 84.
Oh.
Yeah.
So do you think she should have did the 6 times 84?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you think that might be where you made your mistake?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So she did it correctly. So you cross multiply. Thank you. You can have a seat, but leave that up on the board. So anytime you have a proportion, you have a fraction equals a fraction. Okay. To solve a proportion, that means you have one of them unknown. So you either have the top or the bottom unknown on one of the fractions. So to solve it, you have to cross multiply. So you do 6 times 84 equals 7 times x. It's called the extremes and the means. These two are the extremes, and these two are the means. And if you were to multiply them together, the extremes would equal the means. All right, so for instance, you said x equals 72, okay? So if I were to multiply 6 times 84, do that for me in the calculator. Do 6 times 84 and tell me what you get. You get 504. Now do 7 times 72 and tell me what you get.
Same answer.
You get the same answer. So that's how you can tell whether or not you did it correctly. If you were to plug in 72 for x, if you multiply the extremes and then you multiply the means, you get the same number. Okay. So it's like you multiply the numerator and the denominator on one side, and then you multiply the other denominator with the other numerator, and you should get the same answer. Okay. All right, so that's how you solve a proportion. That's the second part of our percent problems. Okay. So this is the second part of our percent problems. This is how you find the missing number. Okay, and what section 7.4 teaches us is how to set up the proportion using the percent proportion. All right, what questions do you have on the bell ringer? Okay. All right, you can put your bell ringer away. Some of you have not turned in your worksheet from yesterday. It was due at the end of class yesterday, and if it was not finished, it was homework due at the beginning of class today. The 7.4% problems worksheet. I need you to get that out. Make sure your name's on it. Pass it to the front, and front row pass it to the right.
Okay.
Alexis, after you get your stuff, can I get you to do me a favor? Will you come over here and sit since Cameron's not here in class? That way you're closer to the board. Same thing, Gavin. That way you'll be closer up to the board since Ashton's not here. Can I get you to come move to number 16 after you get your stuff?
Can I leave my stuff here, like mine?
You're gonna want your calculator, pencil, your marker board, and then I'm passing out your markers in just a moment.
So right now, I'm on the
Alright, those of you in the front row, I need you to take one marker board and pass the others to the back. I want you to try to use up these markers as much as possible, so if it's light, that's okay. I want you to, still use it right there. And then, Gavin should be coming over here. Gavin, I gave them your marker. And then, Trenton, I need to give you an extra marker and marker board to put behind you. Michelle sits behind you, right? Will you pass these back to Michelle? Alright, and then I'm giving you these erasers. They're a few years old, so, you know, they could be a little messy, and that's fine.
Is this my new assignment sheet?
No, just for right now, just while we do this activity. Because you're gonna have to be looking at the board, and if you're anything like me, it's hard to see the board from all the way back there.
My eyes are so bad. I've rubbed them all.
Is like the same one that's been like
Yeah,
that?
I took allergy medicine, eye drops, everything. It just keeps on.
Got it. Trenton.
Pass that back to Michelle. Yes. Pass it up with here, up here.
Man.
I'll have to verify that everything's been turned in, and I'll have to do that after class. Alright, so those of you that will be joining us on the Google Meet, you will need to be working these problems out that I have on the board on a piece of paper, and you will send it to me through the mail, or through the school mail, or you will take a picture and send it to me, or give it to me whenever you return. So make sure that you work these problems out on paper, and make sure that I get those. You can title it 7.4 Review, okay? Michelle and Amber, any work that y'all have to turn in to me, once y'all get situated, like that worksheet or the practice from the big ideas, you can turn it in. Okay, that's okay. And then there's a marker board, a marker, and a dry erase, or an eraser on your desk, and you're gonna work these problems out.
Man.
Where's mine going?
Alright, so for today's assignment, for today's activity, it's a review activity, and it's just because looking at the worksheets that were turned in and looking at the problems you were working out yesterday and some questions that people had, I wanted to go through and clarify some things, help clear up, help get you some practice so that way you'll be ready for the quiz tomorrow. Solving percent problems using proportions, okay? So you're going to need to know what part of the proportion they're asking you to find. So like which part will be left blank whenever you're going to solve it, okay? All right, so the way the first one is worded, it says 12 is 25% of what number? Okay, so our percent proportion is, I'll write it to the side, A over W equals P over 100. A represents the part, W represents the whole. Same thing over here, your percent, that's the part that it represents, and 100 is the whole. 100% represents the whole thing. Okay, so another way you could look at it, instead of doing A over W equals P over 100, you could do part over whole equals part over whole. So this right here pertains to your percent. 100 represents the whole, and then the percent part goes on top. Now, your worksheet yesterday even had a cheat code for you to use. The number that was right beside is goes on top. The number right behind of goes on bottom. And the number that has the percent sign goes above 100. So here's 3 different cheat codes you can use to help you set up your proportion. Right here it says 12 is. You see is right behind the 12. That tells you that 12 is the part. 12 goes here on top where the word is located. Is 25%. That percent symbol tells you right away that 25 goes on top over here above 100 of what number? The number right after of goes on bottom, but we don't know what that is, so we would leave it as a W. So that one's asking for the whole number. So to set up that proportion, you would put 12 over W equals 25 over 100, and then you would solve for W by cross multiplying. Right here it says what is. So now I know right away, I don't know what this one is, so that's going to be left as A. What is 25% of 12? See how 12 is right after of? That would go on the bottom. So that's asking for the part. Okay, so it'd be A over 12 equals 25 over 100. It says what is. So I knew that would be a variable. And then it says of 12, that goes on bottom. 25%, the 25 goes above 100. So it'd be A over 12 equals 25 over 100. This one here, it says 12 is, so that tells me right away that that goes here on the top. What percent? I don't know my percent, so I know my percent's going to be unknown. I've got to find that. Then it says of 25. That tells me that's my whole. 25 goes down here with of. So it'd be 12 over 25 equals P over 100, and then we cross multiply to find P. Okay. So this right here is just kind of showing you when it's asking of what number, they're asking for the whole. When it says what is, it's asking for the part. And when it's asking what percent, it's asking for the percent. Okay. All right, so far, but now before we get started on actual problems, what questions do you have for me? All right, so let's work on an example. Now, starting out, it helps you quite a bit, but then as we get more into it, it stops guiding you along the way. Okay, so whenever you're setting up your proportion, I've already shown you this part. The part goes on top, the whole goes on bottom. Same with the percent. The part of it goes on top, the whole goes on bottom. But with percent, whole is always 100. I'm going to have to pull this down all the way. There we go. All right, it says, what is 40% of 15? So let's work this one out together. What is 40% of 15? Now, they have the 100 over here on the left. Will y'all be okay leaving it that way, or would you prefer me to keep it the 100 over there like we've been doing? Okay, I agree. All right, so if I set up my two proportions, fraction equals a fraction. 100 is always over here on the bottom right. The number with the percent symbol goes above that. So what number do I put above 100? 40. Now that says of 15. So does that 15 go on top or bottom? Bottom, because it says of. And then it says what is. I don't know what that top number is, so I'll put an A there. Okay. Now we cross multiply. Okay, so I always do the variable first. It doesn't really matter, but I always do it first. So I do A times 100, which is
100.
100
Hey,
A equals 15 times 40.
600.
Now I need to find out what A is. How do I get rid of this 100?
You divide by 100.
Yeah, you divide both sides by 100. Okay. All right, so Daniel, what's 600 divided by 100?
6.
It is 6, so A equals 6. So that means 6 is 40% of 15. 6 is 40% of 15.
Just I lost my eraser thing.
It's right there on the board. All right, let's try another one. It says 12 is 25% of what number? 12 is 25% of what number? Now notice it says of what number, so we're looking for the whole. So first thing I need you to do is set up your proportion. Okay, so set up the proportion, and then I'll call on someone to tell us how they set it up. So set up your proportion.
is this not the same one?
It's worded a little bit differently.
Uh,
12 is 25% of what number? So set up your proportion. Yes, sir. Is it? Okay. Yeah, I'll get you a new one. All right, Ethan, how did you set up the proportion? What did you do? All right, tell me how to set up my proportion. How do I do that?
A and 12 and 25 of them.
Parker, are you okay with that? Why not?
12 goes at top.
Ooh. Which one do y'all say?
Looking for the whole
Parker.
part.
Why does 12, how do I know that 12 will go on top and not bottom?
Because 12 is.
Yeah, it says 12 is 25%. So since it says the word is, that tells us 12 goes on top. Now, looking at your paper, now, okay, so you just had these two switched, but now, what would be my next step, Ethan? What would be my next step to solve for W? Yeah, we cross multiply. So you did all the math correctly. So if everything on your paper was right, except for this part right here, you just needed to switch those. But everything else was right on your paper. All right, so if I cross multiply, Caleb, what do I get when I do W times 25?
25 W.
And then Caleb, what do I get if I do 12 times 100?
1,200.
1,200 or 1,200. All right, and Alex, what's my next step? I divide, what do I divide by?
1,225.
Yeah, I divide both sides by 25 because I'm trying to cancel out this 25 that's over here. Gavin, what's 1,200 divided by 25?
100 divided by 25 is 48.
48. Do y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So 12 is 25% of 48.
We should play that chair game. I can do this.
Where you
Let's
try
not
to get
do
to
that
that
today.
certain chair.
Okay, right here. 15 is what percent of 60? Set up your proportion. Notice they didn't tell you, where anything goes. So 15 is what percent of 60? Set up your proportion. And then I'll give you a moment, and then I'll call on someone to tell me the proportion. 15 is what percent of 60? And then if you're done and you would like to go ahead and work it out, then please go ahead. That way you can be ahead of everybody. Yes.
What was
Alright. Amber, how did you set up the proportion? What did you put?
15 on top and 60 on bottom.
What about over here?
13 over because we don't know person. I'm not gonna over.
Brianna, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah, perfect. Alright, Chase, what do I do now to solve that for Pete? You cross multiply, and I like doing the variable one first, so 60 times P. Skylar, what's 60 times P?
60 feet.
And then I have to do 15 times 100. Skylar, what's 15 times 100?
1500.
Alright, and Brooklyn, what would be my next step?
You would divide them both by 60.
That's what you answer.
Yes, ma'am, what's 1500 divided by 60?
P equals 25.
Perfect. So 25%. 15 is 25% of 60. Okay. How I knew that right away, 25% means 1/4, and it means a quarter of, and I know that 60 divided by 4 is 15. So that's a way you can check, make sure you're,
Yeah, that's big brains. I gotta do the steps.
Do the math, teacher.
okay, try this one. Set up your proportion and solve it. 20% of 55 is what number? 20% of 55 is what number? So set up your proportion, go ahead and solve it. And then I'll give you a moment to work it out, and then I will call a random person to come set up their proportion and work it out on the board.
Yeah.
Alright, Trenton, whenever you're finished, I need you to go up to the board and set up the proportion and solve it for me, please.
Got this.
And then once you set up your proportion, stop and let them tell you whether or not they agree or disagree. And then you can continue moving, because I don't want you to go through and work out the whole thing and then have to go back and redo it all. Oh, also, Michelle and Amber, from now on, with the bell ringer, you do not have to do the bell ringer. You don't have to go back and watch the video and do the bell ringer, unless you want to. If you don't, it won't count against you if you don't do it, but you also won't get that bonus point. So if you would like to go back and do the bell ringer, so that way you can get that bonus point each week, then you're welcome to. But you're not gonna be required to do the bell ringer since y'all come in so late. Alright, so he has A over 55 equals 20 over 100. Daniel, you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Alright, keep going. Notice it says 55, so it tells you that 55 goes over here on the bottom.
I think confused with that sometimes.
But I mean, and really, you did part over a part equals whole over a whole, so you should get the same answer. Since you put the things together that go together. But to set up your proportion, it should be A over 55 equals 20 over 100. Alright, so he got A equals 11. Do y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Good job. Alright, you can have a seat. Is he okay to erase it? Does anyone need to use it? Oh, yeah, you can erase it. Alright, try this next one. What percent of 40 is 2.5 or 2 5/10? What percent of 40 is 2 1/2 or 2 5/10? Thank you. What percent of 40 is 2.5? Okay, so set up your proportion and let's go ahead and work it out. Alright, let's set up your proportion. Once you set up your proportion, go ahead and work it out. You got like 10 minutes before you need to go. It's only 11:18.
Is this supposed to be a decimal?
You can get a decimal.
That's what I got, a decimal.
Yeah.
I got a decimal.
Alright, Michelle, whenever you're ready to go, you can go ahead and mark it out on the board.
I didn't think it would be. I thought it would have been a whole nother. Yeah.
Airplane.
As soon as you're ready, you're good to go work it out.
I figured that. Okay.
It's okay. First thing you need to do, just set up your proportion and don't actually work it out. So just write out your proportion and then they'll let you know if you set it up correctly. Once they let you know, then you can work it out.
Oh, that's wrong.
That's right, baby.
That is right.
That's right,
That
baby.
is right.
That's right.
Alright, so her proportion's right. Okay, yeah, so you set it up correctly. So now let's work it out and see if you worked it out correctly.
What in the world?
So she got 6.25%. Do y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Good job.
I can't really know that. Sure. I think
Alright.
it might be 8.
Go ahead and, what questions do you have for me about solving percent problems using proportions?
The exact same thing about my sentence. That was a two.
Alright, go ahead and erase your boards. Put the lids on the markers and pass them to the front. And then what you need to do is
Let's go back to our original.
in just a moment, yeah. Alright, so what you're going to do today, what's due today?
That's not funny.
There's only 6.
That's due today. No, because if we were supposed to do it today.
Yeah, you're supposed to do it. Let me find it. It was 7.4 practice, right?
No.
Okay, yeah. If we were going to do it yesterday, but you get to work on it today.
That's not it though.
So, can I,
Jesus Christ, student progress.
That's just, it was due, I had it due at the beginning of class today, but I'm not making it due until tomorrow.
What?
Oh, that's a bad.
The 7.4 practice.
So they have a computer?
Yeah.
Oh.
Alright, so what you're gonna do today, you're gonna get on Big Ideas Math, and you're gonna complete 7-point practice on Big Ideas Math.
7-point practice?
7 point, it's been answered already, and it's
Hey,
on the
can you see
board.
who's in progress?
Okay, I'm getting there. Wait, just, hey guys, let's close our Chromebooks and please listen. Okay, please listen because directions, you're gonna have to listen to the directions so that way I'm not having to repeat things. Okay. All right, so some of you already have it completed. Those of you that have it completed, you're free to work on whatever you would like to work on as long as, or even play on your Chromebook, as long as you're not distracting or talking to others. Make sure you've turned in your work. In order to get credit, you have to turn in your work. So these 3 people have finished it. These 4 people have gotten started on it, so y'all need to finish it. And then these people need to get started.
Jesus Christ.
Okay? So this is your assignment for today. You will have the rest of class to work on it, which is about 10 minutes. If you don't finish, it's homework due at the beginning of class tomorrow.
How many questions are there?
You'll see it once you get on there. Alright, if you need to go back to your original seat, go ahead and go back to your original seat, get on to Big Ideas and start your assignment.
Good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brad, then you got to work on this thing.
Yeah, it's not as long as some of the others up here.
Yeah, it's only 15 questions.
Alright, we need to get our Chromebooks out. Go to Big Ideas Math and be working on your Big Ideas Math assignment. Thank you.
We need paper.
Yes, you will need paper to do your work on. There's paper up here in the tray.
Let's use you.
Thank you.
Airplane. That was nasty.
Yeah, you can manage it.
Yeah, man.
I got it. I've already started on it.
I'm not good. I use grid paper.
I was definitely not start.
I got it.
Look at that.
See the hacker, bro? You already
Dude, I had a kid literally shoot me through the whole building. I'm not even kidding. He was literally just sitting